Hey, we're live. Hello, hello. Good afternoon, good evening. Is it morning anywhere in the world, Eve? Maybe it is, but
I mean,
it's too early.
I think it's like 1 a.m. in Eastern Europe.
Yeah, you should go back to bed
Depending
if
how you
you're
look at
up.
it. Maybe you're just coming in, maybe you're going out. I don't know.
This is a different type of a stream, folks. If you are, used to joining us for, the weekly coding streams we do, this is not what it is. This is a little bit more, formal. So I still haven't let go of my hat and cared to put on gel on my hair, but it's a little bit more formal because this is a user group presentation. Because like we used to have a user group, and Eve, you might find this curious. I'll walk you through some of our history of where our user group started. This was back in Ohio, and then the pandemic hit, and then it's just easier to now do this, monthly meetups virtually, and then we travel for, bigger conferences. So this is a user group meetup, and Eve is our speaker today. So with that, let's get rolling, and I can show you what I'm talking about. If I can move some of my windows around. Eve, I got a small fan playing in, or a tower fan in my background. Let me know if it's bothering you, and I can turn it off.
I wish I could feel the breeze, but no, the noise doesn't bother me.
All right, can I share my screen? Yes, I can. I can. All right. Let's see. All right, we're up. So yeah, welcome, folks. Welcome to Code It Live. Where, like I said, wherever you might be. This is our July meetup, actually. But before we get to who we are and what this is, Eve, you might find this interesting. I'm an old man, and so back when Windows Phone was a thing, we had started a user group called Central Ohio Windows Phone User Group, adorably acronymed as CalPug. So we went strong for a couple of years, and then things evolved, and we evolved to be just a Windows user group, and that went strong for a few years. This was like started back in 2008, so we are in the 2013 timeframe when we evolved to Windows, and then that went strong, and then people started talking more about regular .NET or JavaScript, and we're like, okay, let's just call it app dev, which is generic enough. We can't go wrong. But then the pandemic hit, and we're like, yeah, we are not meeting as often, in person. We're now, everything is, virtual, so we're now global. And unless, something really bad happens to Earth or we, move to Mars, I think global app dev is as generic as it gets. So we're going to stick to this name. So that's about us. Yeah, that's about us. If you are watching this, folks, feel free to tell your friends about us. We have a website, we have a meetup group, we have a Twitter handle. We meet right here, third Mondays, 6 to 8 p.m. or 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern time. And we have some wonderful speakers who are like Eve, who come and share knowledge. And I am the annoying sidekick that keeps asking questions all along. So I'll do my share. All right, so before we start, a couple of sponsors that help us out. Progress gives us the hosting platform, and we work closely with Microsoft. We partner with Visual Studio Live, which I'll talk about. They host, big conferences all through. And another big conference is coming up in September. That's actually from us, which I'm sure Eve will talk about. This is our sister user group, also based out of Columbus, Ohio, but they are kind of going in a hybrid mode for now. Some meetups are virtual, some are in person, and they try to live stream. This is the Columbus .NET user group, and looks like they meet the fourth Thursday of each month, and looks like they're doing lightning talks this month. Yeah, so that should be fun.
I'm a big fan of Columbus. It's about 3.5 hours from here. I know you have a lot of history there, but I've recently discovered it.
It is a wonderful town. It's a big school town, but at the same time, lots of great places to eat, and lots of big companies now call Columbus home. So it's a nice, diverse town with it's just a lot of sprawling neighborhoods, and it's growing a lot. So yeah, we've been there like almost a decade. We have fond memories of Columbus. Okay, so we also try to highlight some of the other regional conferences that are going on around us. This is one of my favorite, that conference. like they say, which conference? It's that one. So this one's coming up in Wisconsin Dells, and it's like the classic summer camp type thing for geeks. So, take your families, take your kids. It's a water park at the Kalahari in Wisconsin Dells. And I know, Eve, you're going to this one, right?
I will be there. I think I get the title of a counselor.
Yeah, you are a counselor. They give you like a camp counselor shirt, and they're kind of all in.
I'm excited. I feel like I made it. I never got to do that in my youth, and now I'm getting that chance.
Yeah, they do a really good job, and especially with the young kids, it's so good because they have like a full-on kids camp day, and it's like so much of STEM, and they build like robots, and they have RC car competitions, and it's really fun.
Yeah, this will be my first time, but Sam has given me a lot of exciting things to look forward to. I think I'd leave next week.
Yeah, nice. All right. Speaking of more things coming up, and if you're into beer, this is in Grand Rapids, Michigan. This is our good friend Jonathan Tower puts together Beer City Code. That's coming up in early August, one-day conference, but great speakers, from pretty much all over. And then looking ahead, Eve is busy. You're also going to this. This is Kansas City Developer Conference.
I will be there.
Yeah,
I will be there too.
This is not in Kansas. It's across the state line in Missouri. Gets people a little upset. But
I had to double check. I don't know, my central United States as well as I should, but I figured it out.
But this is a fabulous, 3-day conference. Lots of amazing speakers from pretty much all over the world. Like I know people from Europe come over just for this. So it's a really good show. So, if you are looking for places to drive to or, get to this summer, you got a few things to, look forward to. All right. Oh, and there's more. This is Codepalooza. This is coming up, mid to late August. This is in Louisville, Kentucky. Chad Green and company. They also put together a great show. 3 days of content, lots and lots of speakers. So a lot of good things happening. Fingers crossed, we might be looking at the brighter side of the pandemic, coming out of the tunnel, maybe. And so a lot of things are coming back in person. Some are in hybrid mode, which is great. Yeah, we should have the freedom to do whatever people are comfortable with it. So good things happening.
It's a positive outlook.
Yeah. Now we do partner with 1105 Media. They put together Visual Studio Live conferences all throughout the United States, and they got some big shows all year long. They just had VS Live in Austin, and then the next one that's coming up, this is also in August. So August is kind of busy. This is on Microsoft headquarters in Redmond. So if you want to hang out on Microsoft campus, this is your place to be. 4 days of great content. So, and if you are going to one of these shows, they give you a big discount as part of the user group. So,
nice.
Yeah, we have lots of friends in the community and lots of things going on, which is nice and exciting. And today we have drum rolls. Eve is here. Eve is here. Eve's a good friend of mine, but more importantly, she's amazing, and she speaks about all things .NET and JavaScript, and off late, she's been doing a lot of network debugging, and she's here to teach us a thing or two about how to make your life easier with Fiddler, right? So, Eve, with that, I am ready to give you the floor.
Okay. Well, thank you, Sam. You always give such a good introduction. I always feel pressure to live up to it.
No, I try. Okay, where is your desktop? There you are. Okay, I'm going to... Nope, hold on. There you are.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I was trying to take my thing off, and yes, I think that's your screen. Okay, so, yep, the floor is yours.
Perfect. So Sam asked me to come talk with everyone today, and I'm excited. This time he asked me to talk about Fiddler. He's asked me to talk about myself sometimes, which, I can do for a little bit, but I'd much rather talk to everyone about Fiddler and the family of products. That's kind of what we're going to do today. Is just kind of go over the evolution of the Fiddler family and how that has grown beyond the Fiddler that you may be familiar with. Also show you some new features that are upcoming and walk you through some scenarios and see if Fiddler is a tool that will fit a certain job or a problem that you're facing. So just a real quick, this is our webpage, and I'm going to call this kind of the main page. And it helps you figure out which Fiddler do you need, right? So everyone might remember Fiddler, which is now Fiddler Classic, and that was our Windows only version of Fiddler. It's been around for 17 years, and it was acquired by Telerik in progress. But now we've really re-engineered a lot of the Fiddler technology and made it into a family of products. So we have Fiddler Everywhere. So this is your enhanced profile debugging. It's going to give you Mac, Windows, Linux support. Um, Built-in team collaboration, some advanced filtering, and really supercharged features. We do have our Fiddler Classic. This is one a lot of people are familiar with. It is a community product. We have Fiddler Jam. I'll touch upon this a little bit later, but this is a new one. This is troubleshooting. So this is more for your support teams that need to reproduce a customer case to offer resolution. And Fiddler Cap, this is another kind of a capture, and then Fiddler Core, which is our .NET engine. And what's really cool about Fiddler Everywhere is even if you are, a diehard Fiddler Classic user and you're committed only to Windows, you can use both of these in parallel. You don't have to make a choice. If you're really comfortable in Fiddler Classic and a certain tool, you can continue to use that. But realize there's so much more when you move to that Fiddler Everywhere and make that migration. But it doesn't have to be fully. You can use them complementary, and that's what's really great about it. Because there are some things you're going to find in Fiddler Everywhere besides a cross-platform that you're not going to find in Fiddler Classic. So that was just a brief overview. I don't want to bore you too much on the whole website part, but I wanted just to give you a little bit of understanding of where we were, where we are now, and a little bit on how we got there. So what I did today is I put together a short presentation, and like you said, Sam said, this isn't super formal, so I'm happy, to answer questions as we go along. But at the same point, I want to make sure that she gets the full story. So the concept of this talk is kind of how to speed up network debugging without being overwhelmed. And one of the big things, that I hear is, web debugging is a daunting task for a lot of people. They don't know where to get started, and sometimes it gets put off, which has high consequences. And other times they just aren't sure how to make this part of their daily workflow, right? We want to try to educate and bring awareness to the fact that web debugging should be a consistent process, not just when you have an issue. We can actually prevent these failures, which can be costly if unattended. And that's kind of what I want to walk through here today. So this is just kind of a real world stat to bring everyone on the same page. But developers like you are spending 1,500 hours annually in debugging. I mean, just think about that kind of time. And there's a whole new level of problems, every day. I put on here a couple of years ago, but there's new programming languages coming out, right? Security vulnerabilities and threats, malware, inevitable coding errors. These are all things going to happen. And so that 1,500-hour stat, I think, will continue to go up. And that's where I'm kind of charged with is helping you figure out how to bring that time down considerably to the point where you might be able to do something in hours versus days with the right tooling and the know-how. And as applications and systems become more complex, you really need a plan, right? And that's what I'm here to do is show you how Fiddler can be that guide. So when you need to deliver high quality apps, when you need to test specific scenarios like server errors, or when you need to gain better visibility into that network traffic, what do? Right? Sometimes it is like looking at a needle in a haystack, but it doesn't have to be. And this,
Hey, Eve,
yes.
sorry to interrupt. Just so you know, like we are seeing your, kind of your speaker view. So like your next slide, not that it bothers us, but just to make sure,
Okay.
like if that was your intention. If that's so, that's fine then.
It wasn't. I'm not sure why that would be, but it's not a big deal.
Okay,
Um,
yep, that's fine then.
everything in there. Everyone can just follow along, especially if you kind of go at your own pace. But I'll need to look into that. But thanks for bringing that up. So this is that Fiddler portfolio I mentioned as we kind of went through the web page. All those different fiddlers that we have that make up that family. So this is one of the big things that I think is important is when you're talking about you're getting close to a release, right? You have an app, you think the quality is good, you think you're good shape, but before you put it out the door, there's some things you should probably check, right? And we all do certain things that we're checking on the development side. But what about some of those other verification things that we can do to help simulate certain scenarios on the network side? So the one I want to talk about is any failing request, right? So these are going to be your 400s, your 500s. Like they're I kind of use this as like the free throw, right? Like if you're an NBA player, free throw shot comes up, that is something that you need to hit. And I think this is something too. We don't want to get anything out the door that has those errors. So this is when we use Fiddler Everywhere. And what I'm using here is a hash node test site. I just like this site to show around some of the traffic. And what I'm doing right now is I have Fiddler Everywhere running in the background, and I'm clicking around on hash node just to generate traffic. So every URL, every click, everything is registering, in the back end in Fiddler Everywhere. And so I'm going through like my feed and my right, and here is the Fiddler Everywhere UI. And you can see I can use my advanced filtering in the result, and I can go 400, and I can do and this time I'm going to go or, I'm going to click 500, I'm going to filter. So I'm going to look right off the bat to see if I have any of those requests, and I don't. So I know I'm in good shape. You're going to notice something different here too if you aren't familiar with Fiddler Everywhere. It is a totally revamped UI than what you maybe remember in Fiddler Classic, and I'm going to get into some new releases that have even enhanced this further. But in terms of theming, you have that. We have some new layout options, but it's just very clean. It's very intuitive. It doesn't require a lot of you don't really need a wizard to to walk through it. People open it up, it makes sense, you get to what you need to do real quickly. That's a big
Hey,
benefit.
Yves, a quick question here. Like when you talk about, HTTP codes and like errors, like what type of apps are we talking about? Is it just web apps?
It can be web apps, it can be mobile apps, it can be, internal, external applications, anything that is harnessing the network.
So, and the reason Fiddler is able to do that is like it's a proxy, so like
Yes.
everything goes through it.
Good point. Yes, I
Yeah.
don't think I covered that at the beginning of the talk, but yes, Fiddler Everywhere acts as a proxy, right? So it sits between, the client and the server, and it's that man in the middle approach, and that's what allows Fiddler to get this visibility. Thanks for bringing that up, Sam.
Yeah, no, I love that as an old man who does a lot of like native desktop and web or mobile dev. This is key. Otherwise, like we'll be in the dark about our network stack. The web side of things, yeah, we have a few more tools nowadays, but the moment you have to go look at APIs or any type of native app, you are pretty much in the dark unless you have something like Fiddler.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I mean, that's a lot of the feedback that we get as people aren't sure how they would be able to accomplish what they're doing, without having these glasses to find everything, real magnifying glass without having to do a lot of legwork. Fiddler has the power to do that for you. Okay, and then what I want to show you here, this is something new that I don't think I've shown before, is when you want to simulate expired access tokens. So you might have a scenario where this is something that you need to see what is the experience that the end user is going to have. So I'm using my hash node site again, and what I'm trying to do is update my profile. And so I go into Fiddler Everywhere. Remember, Fiddler captures everything, so I'm removing that so I can really hone in on the traffic I want. I'm updating my profile, and you see that I get that profile updated successfully. Now what I can do here is I can right click, and this is where the rule builder comes in, and I can create a rule. I have one in here that was saved before, a manually crafted response, but I'm going to change this to a 401, which is unauthorized. And then what I can do is I can take out all of these other things that were more relevant to my last request, and I am going to put in here tokens expired, and I hit save. And now I'm going to go back to my hash node site. I'm going to hit update. And you can see I get that error in updating the profile. So I know once those tokens expire that my app will behave as I expected to, given an error message. Now, you can maybe make a better error message, maybe something a little bit more directional. However, you know that if those tokens expire, it is going to throw the error message as you intended. That's a big thing, just making sure things act as intended and you're not surprised. And that's what, Fiddler Everywhere helps you do. And I don't get into too much of it in this talk, but we can definitely go over it when I do the live demo. But the autoresponder is such a powerful tool. It allows you, like I said, I've showed you a few mock scenarios or make changes to a site or a specific URL. It's just so powerful, all the things that you can do in terms of matching and filtering and things along those lines.
Yeah. Also, what I have found useful in the past is like software development is not, a solo sport. Like we are working in a team, and especially when you're working with other teammates, where maybe you have an API or you're in your dev environments where you're trying to mock things. Like to your point, like what does the autoresponder do? Like if I want you to hit my APIs, if I want to simulate network failures. This is just so easy because like I can give you a proxy to my machine directly, and then you can test all the things without me having to deploy anything.
Yes, that is a very good key point. And this is a scenario that comes up a lot. Like if you need to test what is going to happen on a slow connection, right? This thing is out of our control in terms of the connection speed. But if that does happen, how is your app going to behave? So in this particular one, what I'm doing is I'm using the hash node set again, and I find that create story request. What I want to do in this auto responder or in the rule builder, sorry, is to create a delay. And I'm going to do the 5,000 milliseconds. So it's just 5 seconds, and I hit execute. I go back to my site. I'm going to hit on my right. You're going to see that, it waits that 5 seconds until it navigates to the page. But everything loads right. Everything looks good. And I just caught myself, Sam, there when I kept calling it autoresponder. That is the previous version. And I think it was a couple of releases ago, autoresponder now became rule builder.
Yeah.
And so I got so used to saying autoresponder for all these years, but it has all of the goodness of autoresponder, but a lot of new features and more power as the rule builder. So if you caught me saying that, I'm guilty. I won't make that mistake again. I wanted to clarify that if someone goes and opens up Fiddler Everywhere, they're not going to find autoresponder, you're going to find rule builder, but you're going to love it. Just to give it a shot.
Yeah. And can we do things like, if we are trying to fine tune performance of an app, can we do things with, what are some options? Like I saw a delay. What are some other options we can do? Like, could we have like a failure to deliver some files, or just
Yeah,
a
you
complete
can
network
do.
failure?
Yep, you can do. Let me pull something up here, Sam, real quick. So here I am. You can see my Fiddler Everywhere instance. Do you see that opened up?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So what you can see, I'm going to select on this, and I am going to, let's see, where am I here? Rules. I got to turn my rules on. I wasn't ready for that. So I can add a new rule and look at all the different things, that I can do. What was this? That's the one I was looking for. Hold on.
Okay, graceful
Oh yeah,
close.
here we
I
are.
see a
Yep.
few things. Yep.
So there's a delay request, a non-graceful close, which would be like a server drop. The manual response. There are predefined responses too. So if there's a
Oh,
few
nice.
you don't want to, write your own and do a custom message, we have some here that are ready for you, so you can use those.
Nice.
So yeah, there's between the headers and the bodies and the URLs, a lot of different opportunities within here. While I'm in here, I'm going to show you one thing I think is really cool that just came out is the switch layout, and I'll show this a little bit later. But you see this little icon here? You see how right now it's vertical? Look, now
Look at that.
new horizontal.
Yeah.
So this is really nice in terms of time saving, right? Or time savings. There's so much on the page. People are trying to work simultaneously, look at requests. And you can look at that and you can have your overview inspector here rules. Just gives you a little bit more screen width, which is requests that came from users, and that's one thing you'll really notice about the team. If you moderate or look into our forums and things, really are paying attention to what our customers are looking for, what their use cases, how we can further tune the product, just to make it easier to use.
Yeah, I like this because like just the way you have it up, up on the top, like just one visual is enough to see what type of request it is, how many bytes are being exchanged before you actually dive in. because earlier you would have to, kind of move it left or right to see the whole thing. Now it's just so much easier to
Yes.
see the whole thing up top, vertical rather than, or horizontal rather than vertical. I
Yeah.
like it.
And these are a couple other things. We can see we've added some new timing and we've added some sizes, different request details. I mean, there's so much information here. And I'm looking at, one particular URL right here, but all the things that I can uncover about this. Oh, which, is a lot of fun. And this is something too. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I get really excited. In the inspector tab. So you can see we have overview, inspector tab, and this is the rules. In the inspector tab, we now have a certificate information, so details. So instead of having to hunt and learn more about certificates, it's all right here in terms of the issuing authority and the dates and expirations. And I'll show you a little later how we can use the rule builder to find out, and use like a date picker to find out what certificates are expiring, what their status is, and really take an authoritative approach to making sure that if we're responsible for these, we're not in a hot situation. Because we all know what happens when your certificate, becomes invalid or expired. It's not a great experience if anyone's ever
Yeah,
been through that.
it's totally cool when you are the ones responsible, because like you want that visibility. But like ever since like the first time you showed me this, like I use this for like public shaming. Anytime anybody's certificate is off, now you have an easy way to tell why it's off and what's expired.
Yes, that's the flip side of it. Yes. Let me go back here. So I showed you that. Um, so we talked about the optimization, right? There's certain things that you can look for. One are your CSS files. Two are your images. Do you have things optimized the right way? So these are all things that you can uncover with Fiddler Everywhere and then make those needed changes. Minification, all of these very important things that seem slight behind the scenes, but added up make a big difference to your user, and the user experience is really king in all of this. It's what we all come to understand. So this test right here just shows what an app would look like before the styling gets downloaded. So what I want to do here is I already know the CSS file, that I'm looking for. I'm generating traffic again. Remember, Filter Everywhere is in that back end, capturing everything that you need it to. So I'm going to use that filter in the type in. So I find that CSS file. I'm going to go ahead and I know I'm going to create that rule, and we're going to do the delay again that we had talked about as that rule for that 5,000 milliseconds. And then what I do is I'm going to name this rule, because you can see in this instance, I have so many rules, right? You can create as many rules as you want. You could turn them on and off. You can save them for later. This one I wanted to name just because I was getting, so I open a new instance of Hashnode, and what I can see happens is that, nothing is being downloaded, right? So it doesn't load any visuals until all of that styling was downloaded. So, I mean, this isn't the worst thing we've seen. However, I think any type of delay or wait is not advantageous for you. And I think a better situation would be to have some kind of loading indicator. Let the user know what's happening, right? When you see a blank page, people get impatient. You X out. You think something else is wrong, but this is where you could work, like that collaboration, work with your web development team to figure out what a better solution would be here.
I think this is part and parcel of shipping modern web apps. Like you have to test these things as to what the user experience looks like when you have delays and missing CSS files or JavaScript files, or what happens when there's, I mean, you still get those files but they're on a delay. What does the user see? So I think this is tapping into just the regular workflow of shipping web apps nowadays.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
important to make sure that's part of that.
Yeah, I had a question though. The rules, I can see people getting very crafty on very specific rules that kind of helps them test some something special in their workflow. Can you share those rules? Like, can I use your rules?
Yes, you can export different things
Oh,
and
nice.
share them with others.
Yeah.
Mm, Oh, and this is the one that I talked about, and I'll just show you this in action. This is the expired certificates. Um, so what I'm doing here is I'm again clearing my traffic because I want Fiddler to start capturing the fresh traffic that's happening. So I'm using my Hashnode site and I'm just clicking around, going through Explorer, JavaScript. But what my intention here is I want to be able to go back into Fiddler Everywhere and add a rule that's going to help me find certificates. So I'm scrolling down and I find the certificate information. I want it to be on or after and for the expiration date. And then you can see I have my date picker here and I'm going to pick September 30th. I'm going to hit, oh, I forgot about this. I can make my selections for the red and white to really just give me that visual indicator that I need, right? We know how many requests I have in here. It's going to be hard to find ones if it just is written in text, but that nice bright red color, I can look to see how many there are. Then I can click on each of them. And that status message changes. It said certificate, either, certificate valid, certificate expiring, certificate expired. So there are different ones depending on what you found. On the Hashstone site, I didn't find any that were actually expired yet, but there are ones that were coming up within that date range. So that will vary depending on what you find. Um, and I'll open this up, but I mean, there are so many features in Fiddler Everywhere, and that's one of the big things that I hear from a lot of people is, oh, I didn't know Fiddler Everywhere could do that. Or I didn't, here's this particular problem I have. Does Fiddler Everywhere do that? And the answer is typically yes. I mean, I haven't think I've run into much where I had to say no, or it could be something on the roadmap, but just getting into the product, playing around with it. We have some great new videos, which I'll show you, which one of our ninjas helped us put together to just really unpack everything that's in there in a usable way for some cases that are probably kind of top of mind for you right now. Um,
I see a couple in that list of yours that are really exciting. HTTP2, and I also see WebSocket support.
yes, those are some really big ones. So those came out in um, the 3.0 release, and it's been huge. I mean, in terms of HTTP2 traffic, WebSockets, with the live chats. That's right up your alley, Sam. Talking about WebSockets, but I mean, we are listening. Everything is changing, and again, it's just one of these things where these features are just coming um, right when you need them and to help you out. And I think that's really amazing and a great testament.
All right, trick question. I don't know if you know this, but do we have folks using Fiddler Everywhere on Linux?
Yes, we do have some Fiddler Everywhere Linux
Mm,
users.
nice. It's kind of like it's a hardcore niche thing for people who use Linux as their desktop, because it's maybe a little hard to live by every day.
Right.
You don't have all the apps, but it's more power to you.
Yes. Um, I do know a few people, specifically that are that hardcore, like you said, um, and they really make the most of it. Sorry about that.
No worries, you okay?
Yep, I'm good. Um, this is one, and I'll open it up and show you is same as that new comparing sessions. So this is really handy when you have, two particular sessions that you're trying to evaluate, and one is working, and one is not. You can't figure out why. To you, everything looks the same, but this is we can look at them side by side. So this is a new feature that recently came out in Fiddler Everywhere that we did not have before. Right now, you can compare sessions within the same tab. In new releases, you're going to be able to compare sessions from different tabs. So it's just further evolving that particular feature. This is that switch layout, which I showed you real quick, from that vertical to horizontal. It's just a great opportunity to make it how you want it, right? It's all up to preference. Same with our themes. Earlier in the year, released some new themes, dark and light, and different variations of those. And again, it's up to you.
Yeah, I should be, but I'm not the biggest fan of dark modes. But it's nice to have it for folks who really enjoy that.
Yeah.
Like I can see dark mode for nighttime working, but for like every day I'm still in my light mode for most things.
Yeah, I tend to, you can see from the demos in my Fiddler, for instance, I am more of a light person, light theme person. However, there are a lot of people who are using the dark, and it does look sharp,
Yeah, yeah, it
and it
does.
does
Yeah,
have other benefits to it as well. So, that's kind of the question. Sometimes people understand what, Fiddler Everywhere, once they get to the aha moment of what it does, what are like the results you can achieve if you use it? And that's a valid question, right? One of the big things is people say it helps them ship better software. They save time for what matters most, right? Debugging isn't what they want to be spending their time doing. They want to, if they're a developer, working on other things and focus more on their business logic. But yet, um, depending on your team size, you may wear many hats. Have happy customers, right? That's a big one. Boost your team's productivity. I didn't get into it as much in this talk, but there's some really nice collaboration features that you have within Fiddler Everywhere that you're not going to find even in Fiddler Classic. That allows you to share sessions, open results, work together, right within the context of Fiddler Everywhere without having to leave it. You can email, like if I said, "Hey Sam, I have this error. I'm not sure what. Here are my session logs," and I could email you right from Fiddler Everywhere. You'd get them open up. You'd see exactly what I saw, and they're all contained in a nice little file folder system on the left-hand side of the application. And then, like that bonus scenario of built-in collaboration. We all have to do more with less, it seems like. So let's not repeat the same work. If I've already done some of the legwork, I don't want to have Sam to have to go back and do that. So I being able to provide that to him, it allows him to really get to the fix.
yeah, and then that visibility you mentioned, that is so key, right? I mean, knowing what the user experience is like, what is the error, what are we trying to fix? Because some might say that shipping your software is just like half the journey. Then it begins of how you maintain things, how are you doing error management. And the worst thing is when somebody gives you an error where it's just like works on my machine but clearly
Right.
it's failing and you just don't know what's going on.
Yeah. And that's a good leading because I do have an, like a slide here too, something about Fiddler Jam, and that is, I think, going to be something people who are unfamiliar with kind of that support role are going to find very interesting. And if they themselves don't work on it, likely know someone who does. But this is just kind of, we have a roadmap. It's very active. We talked about two of the big ones, but another big one is, gRPC is coming out, as well as some new enhancements in terms of performance suggestions. We released like an auto completion feature, comparing snapshots. So there's always something coming.
Hmm.
I expect this roadmap, to be updated again here within the next month. So there'll even be more things that will take us through the year. So 2022 is a pretty impressive year in terms of everything we put out. If you look at our release notes, and in 2023 isn't going to disappoint.
I love how busy the team is. Like they're constantly churning out features and listening to customers. And do you know anything more about the gRPC support that's coming?
Just a little bit. Not, I just understand that it's part of that modern framework that a lot of people are looking for, and we want to be there to support them. But I don't have a lot of info on what is going to
Yeah.
look like.
Yeah, no, I'm super curious with that because like a lot of complex enterprise business apps nowadays use like the microservices architecture, and that's kind of geared towards gRPC usage, and knowing the interconnections and the little message handoffs between services, that's going to be so key. And so you could envision like maybe having Fiddler installed on some servers and have your apps hosted and seeing that traffic go in and out of that server. That's going to be so nice.
Yeah, I'll have more on that probably with maybe by the time we have our release, our productivity webinar. Maybe I'll have some more
Mhm.
to share on then. That's coming up in September. So stay
Nice.
tuned. But I know the team is, actively working on it. Um, and that's like Sam mentioned, like we have a dedicated team, and I don't know if people realize that. Like we have a team that works solely, on our Fiddler products, from engineers to support to documentation. I mean, they're all, within our company. And I don't know if you're going to find like that type of team environment around any products that you may consider as an alternative. So I think that's important to realize the professionalism and the experience that you're getting, that's backed in Fiddler Everywhere. And this is one of those quick start checklists, and I put this available online. So let's say your app starts going sideways. You're not sure what to do. It's just like, where do you start, right? It's overwhelming. Like, so this is a nice checklist that we put together with our engineering team just to take you through all those things you can check really quickly to get those out of the way. And you likely may find some of them. We went over some of them, checking all your requests, are there missing requests? You're checking those error status codes, right? Response content. Here's the best practices we kind of talked about in terms of, are you compressing? Are your resources minified, right? Is your server return more information than needed? So these are all things that you can easily check. And there's hyperlinks in there, and we have a documentation, but you can do this all within Fiddler Everywhere, and it's just a great resource to have at your fingertips.
Is this like where are you pulling this from? Like this checklist is this on the website?
Yes, we
Oh,
created this,
nice,
and we put it as a PDF, and then I have that available online. But we can also, you can print it out. Uh,
nice.
but it's so helpful. It's been one of those. It can be a real lifesaver, especially none of these things ever happen at good timing, right? Like something needs to go out or needs tomorrow or needs to be tonight or needed to be yesterday. So this is something you can maybe check all of these things within an hour, but without this guide or without the tool, like I've heard from people like it took them days to figure out something that was on this list. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a great testament.
Yeah,
Um, and I had mentioned earlier, Robert, he is one of our uh, Fiddler ninjas, and he put together a great 5-part video series for us. I put 3 of them
nice.
up here, but you can find them all on the Telerik.com WAC videos. But it's like debugging techniques you're not going to find everywhere else. And he's using Fiddler Everywhere to show you through how to troubleshoot a remote device. I mean, amazing. Again, how to evaluate a website's performance technique using Fiddler Everywhere. So if you don't want to go it alone or go through the documentation, I mean, he walks you through it in a very seamless way. He has, a great energy, a great cadence to him, and you can follow right along online with him to understand Fiddler Everywhere and all that it does. And he has, the experience to kind of give you those tips. And he has also used Fiddler Classic as well, so he can tell you the differences, the nuances, and things that you can do. So it's a great resource. I definitely recommend checking those out.
Yeah, it's a lot of Robert, but he is so amazing. He
Yeah,
is just really so nice. And particularly that web performance tuning part of it, I have seen him talk about that, and it's amazing because like
yes,
he's drawing from, very real world experience of shipping a modern enterprise web app that's used by hundreds and thousands of people, and all the issues that they have had to uncover and fix along the way with the help of tooling. The fine tuning of, like you
hmm
mentioned, like your css, your javascript, things are not being delivered, things are delayed. What is the user experience like? So it's an amazing video.
yeah, and he's walked in your shoes, right? And we're lucky to help him. He kind of helps us, bridge the gap and gives us great feedback, and also putting out learning resources, so people can uncover, and unpack all the Fiddler has everywhere has to offer, rather quickly.
Yeah.
So this is something I mentioned a little bit about at the beginning, and I will go to the webpage. But Fiddler Jam. So this is our newest Fiddler family product, and like as I mentioned, this is aimed towards those customer support um, professionals who are working with end users who get that. Scenario where, well, this is happening on my machine, but I can't reproduce it. So what Fiddler Jam does, it's a 2-part product. It's one is a Chrome extension that allows you to capture end user details and allows them to share logs with you. And then it also is a portal, which allows you to go in there and you can look at all of these logs and you can print screens. And we added a video component to it so you can actually watch it exactly as they performed it, not just the logs. And let me show you that real quick here.
Yeah, you mentioned a good point here, with support, because a lot of the times when you get, so developer engineering times are precious, right? Because that's where your key investments are to ship an app. A lot of the times when you're getting these like support tickets or requests from users, it might be something really silly that, the user might not be set up to do, or I mean, you just don't want all of those tickets to come to your dev teams, right? Because there are so many layers to figure out the problem before it gets to the dev team.
Right. So many. And I mean, even for the first end of the responders, there's a lot of things that all the different calls and the meetings and the back and forth, right? That can really be streamlined. Instead of having
Yeah,
to set up a go-to meeting and have them walk you through this and find a right time, right? You can, this is aimed at non-technical users, right? So the person you're sending this to, um, could be an educator, who's using a uh, e um, e-education type platform, right? They can't upload their lesson plan, let's say, for any of the remote learners, but they can't figure out what to do. So what we do is we provide this extension. You can see I have it here, and you send them this extension. They install it right from the Chrome store, and they can now start capture. So if I'm telling you, Sam, hey, the sample log isn't opening for me, and I click on the sample log, and go here, hold on. You can see the Redis recording, and then I hit stop. So it's been captured 130 sessions, it said. And what's nice here too is I have a couple different options. One, I can password protect it if I'd like. It does have built-in data masking, but if there are other things that you need the extra level of security, you can password protect it. You can also preview it too. This is new. Um, so you can look to see what that looked like before you send it. If I think, oh, I'm not sure if I got it to the end, I can replay it to make sure I got everything that I wanted to send. Let's say I was sending it to you, Sam. So that's pretty amazing there. And then also with um, this is the portal that I have. So this is a sample portal, but this is where once the end user uses the Fiddler Jam extension, sends it to the support personnel, they quickly take a look, see if they can reproduce it. Um, you know, or if they can fix it, not so much reproduce it, but if it's something they can do on their end, or they need to send it on to the development team. So then I can take a look in here and just get tons of information, right? So it just walks me through all of these different for storage details. It gives you all icons and where was the thing I was looking at here? This is the video portion. So this is, the famous to-do list, right? Everyone has seen this. And you can see exactly what they were doing. They were adding by bread. So you have the video, and you can see here this timer
yeah, I
takes
love
you
that.
along with
Yeah,
it.
because the way the logs are captured, like the video moves along with it.
Yes,
Yeah, I love that.
which is pretty exciting. It just gives you, and then it gives you the sequential order. So let's say, hey, I need you to look at number 36. If I need to share it with someone on my team, there's just a lot of the collaboration is built in, but yet we're cognizant of what you're going to need to communicate besides just sending the file, right? We don't just send the file and say like thanks. There's more to that, so we add all of these different features in to just really help you in your communication. And then here you can see you can also open it right
Yeah, I
up in
love that.
Fiddler.
Hmm.
So again, like you don't have to switch contacts, you don't need a different tool. I can go right into my Fiddler everywhere, um, and
And you
it's
and
loading
you
my
see
sessions
you see exactly what your
right
support
here.
personnel were
There it
saying.
is.
Hmm.
It's right there on my left hand side. That's my log sample with video. Like how cool is that?
Yeah,
I mean, that was what, 2 clicks, and now I
yeah,
could really deep dive in to figure out what's going on here. So Fiddler Jam, it is a different use case than what we have for Fiddler Everywhere. But again, they're complementary products, right? They're meant to kind of be that single tool chain, that unified tool chain for you and your company. Because a lot of these companies are, you have your support and your customer service center, but you do have your developers who are responsible for it. And customer support centers are now not just looked at as a cost center anymore, right? I mean, the whole customer experience is uh, a big emphasis for customer or for companies, and they're putting a lot of investment into it. And that's where, Fiddler Jam can come in and help out.
Yeah, love that.
And then let's see. Let me open up back up Fiddler. So I'm trying to think, Sam, was there anything in here that I didn't show?
Can you show us the themes? Like, how do I switch themes?
Yes. Okay, so see my little gear icon here?
Mm-hmm.
So I go here, and then you can see I have my light blue.
Oh, nice.
Let's see, and there's my default dark.
Yeah.
My dark blue. So you can do all of those things.
Yeah, it looks sharp.
It does.
And yeah, and like the lighter blue maybe is a little easier on your eyes than just plain white that you and me are used to.
Another big thing in here is, let me see, where am I? Give me 1 second. I lost my mouse. You still see my screen, Sam?
Yeah, I see.
Okay. So in here, this is where we talk about connections. And so if you do want to work with HTTP2 traffic, which majority of sites are, all that involves is going ahead and clicking this.
Yeah, and then I always have the one above checked because that's allowing remote things to connect through your machine. So if I have like an iPhone or an Android device, I would like that traffic to go through this as a proxy. So I can see it. I mean, this is if you do not have a phone that's on the same Wi-Fi though. But otherwise, like Fiddler can route traffic through through its proxy to those devices.
Hold on. I haven't done that. I'm not going to click that right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to think what else is in here that I want to show you. I mean, there's so many things. But here are like the files that have been shared with me. So people can share files with me. They're SAZ files, SAS. It's so editing in the composer, right? There's different things you can do here with the headers, param. You can actually get in there and do all of those things. One thing that I have here, if it's live traffic, if you're captioning or working on something, there's this nice toggle, right? You can turn it on and off. So if at one point I get the traffic I need, I just want to work with that traffic, I shut this off. Which just
it gets
helps
overwhelming because it's a lot of traffic it'll capture.
Yes. I mean, I think you and I have talked about it before, how much, it can be scary how much it actually does. And same with rules too, right? So you can turn rules on and off, then you can add new rules. And like I said, you can keep adding them, naming them, reusing them. So once you've find a particular rule, I've been known to save a few. I cleaned it up for our demo today just so you guys weren't seeing all my different rules, but they are great to have.
Indeed. Yeah, love it all. Love what you and the team are doing with Fiddler. Taking network debugging to a whole new level. And what is this?
So this is something that is coming up this September. Sam and I will both be there. So this is DevReach. You guys are probably familiar with it, but it has been a few years. We are bringing it to Boston. So I just want to put that out there. Save the date. We have tons of speakers planned, some really engaging keynotes. There is, an online version as well. But if you're able to and you're interested, I highly recommend checking this out. I put the URL in here as well.
Yeah, no, DevReach is central, has always been Central and Eastern Europeans big dev conference. This is the first time we are bringing it stateside. So yeah, come and join us if you can.
So I'm trying to think if there's anything else that you want me to cover, Sam, or we have any questions. I'll stop sharing. Hold on.
No, I mean this is a lot, and like I said, I'm really impressed with how far Fiddler has come in the last just even a year. To think about the number of features that are being pumped out, so really impressive.
Yeah, and if you haven't checked it out in a while, or this is your first time, there is a free trial of Fiddler Everywhere. You can use it if it's fully functional. Doesn't require any credit card details, anything like that. Same thing with Fiddler Jam, comes with a trial, and I think it doesn't take long to uncover that value, right? So it's not like you're going to need 6 months or something like that. Like you get in there and you start using it, and just give it a little bit of attention. You're going to realize, like, okay, this is a must-have tool. And um, we have a lot of great, reviews. So if you're interested in learning more, like via G2 or Trust Radius, how other people are using it, what their feedback is. Our user base is quite large and vocal, and that's what's really helped us.
Yeah, well said. Well, Eve, I cannot thank you enough for taking an hour out of your evening, summer day, and just coming and sharing your passion, your knowledge with us. So
Well, thank
appreciate
you.
you a lot.
Thanks. As I said, we're going to be at some of the conferences, so we'll have some more things on debugging. And as the months, even next month, I think I'll even have more to share. So if there's ever something that you don't see or you're looking for, please drop us a line. Otherwise, you can probably rest assured that things are actively being worked on.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. All right, folks in the chat room, that's it, I think, from us for this user group talk. And we'll be back next month, third Mondays as usual. I think I have a backlog of 3 or 4 speakers that are going to come up in the next
Oh,
few months,
nice.
so that's going to be good. Coming into fall, but summer is always, everyone's out and about. School is off, so people are traveling a lot more. So, Eve, once again, thank you so much, and
Thank you, Sam. Thanks for
yeah,
everything you do. And everyone always
absolutely.
appreciates you.
Thank you, and yeah, folks, have a great rest of your evening or your late afternoon, and we'll see you on the next stream. So stay well, and we'll see you around. All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.